I think we've all been guilty of hating on Devin Haney and being very critical of not only his performances, but his mindset and his mental toughness as a fighter. And I think we owe him an apology because honestly, Devin Haney is doing something that no other fighter or fighters are really doing, which is calling out the best and actually putting it into action. I mean, to want to fight Teofimo Lopez straight after a get-back fight against Jose Ramirez and not getting that opportunity. Teofimo Lopez allegedly turns down $10 million to fight Haney, and then Haney says, okay, he could have sat there and said, well, Teo doesn't want to fight me, he's a duck. Go bother Teo and, ask him why we're not fighting. But right after that, he goes straight to Brian Norman, coming off KO of the Year candidate performance against Jin Sasaki, and he put that guy to sleep. Devin Haney's going after somebody who just knocked the memory out of, a fighter in his backyard in Japan. A U.S. fighter went over to Japan and knocked him out, made him lose his memory, and that's who Devin Haney's fighting next. Brian Norman Jr. I know it's about opposition, but when you see a professional knock out another professional, that's all I see. I don't take away credit from Sasaki because maybe he's not on the level of Devin Haney. And I understand, styles make fights. I think Devin is going to be a difficult person to land a clean shot on if you're anybody. I don't care what happened in that Ryan Garcia fight. This is going to be a different version of Devin. He's going to be a lot more cautious in there. And people are going to say he's going to run. Maybe he will move, but he definitely shouldn't stand right in front of a guy like Brian Norman. But, just really appreciate what you're seeing with Devin Haney in a time where, mental health is such a big thing in boxing, and a lot of fighters, whether they want to admit it or not, suffer from PTSD. No one wants to get back into, the ring after taking a big shot or potentially getting stopped, almost getting stopped, being dropped multiple times. Like, no one wants to get in there with a big puncher, but you got a guy like Devin Haney who went from Ramirez, didn't have their best performance, but goes straight for Teo. Teo declines the offer, and then he goes straight for Norman Jr., who's a welterweight when Haney's been fighting under welterweight. He's never even fought at 147, and he's going to go up to fight the champion in his debut. Talk about taking risks. Devin Haney's that guy right now. I don't know who's taking as big of the risks as Devin Haney. I'd probably say Teofimo's up there as well, but Devin is crazy. He's insane, but if he's able to pull it off, and this is one of those fights, people are saying that Devin is going to have his track shoes on, he's going to run all night against Norman Jr. Dude, if he finds a way to beat Brian Norman, who's welterweight world champion, I don't care how he gets it done. If he does it, he's a legend in my book, because going through what he's gone through to come back and beat Ramirez, maybe it wasn't an exciting fight, but to beat him 12-0 and then move on to beat a guy like Brian Norman after trying to make a Teofimo Lopez fight happen, and Teo declined it, and then if Haney goes on to beat Norman, oh my God, I don't care how he does it. I don't care how he gets it done, but that'd be impressive. I don't care what people say. Haney is willing to fight anybody. But, people are going to say, oh yeah, he's willing to fight anybody, but look at how he fights them. He runs from them. But, boxing's a sport at the end of the day. That brings me back to, the Tom and Jerry stuff. That my take on the no running rule, all the Tom and Jerry fights, you can't, or you can, but, why would you make the ring smaller and then say, oh, we want to protect our fighters, we don't want to see fighters die in the ring? Well, you're increasing the instances of that happening. Just leave the sport the way it is. If fighters want to fight on the defensive end and you guys hate it that much, then why are you promoting it? Why are people still watching it? Why are you sending them contracts? Why are you making contracts for guys like Devin and Shakur if you don't want to see them fight? But ultimately, people still want to see them fight, at least to an extent. People just like to make fun of how, their performances aren't entertaining. But people watch Haney and Shakur. They say the jokes about they fall asleep and whatnot, and that stuff's funny. It is funny. I'm not going to cap. But at the end of the day, people are watching Devin. People are watching Shakur. Otherwise, they wouldn't promote them because they do bring in a level of revenue to the sport of boxing, because otherwise, why would Turkey want to have these fights? Why would Turkey want to offer these guys contracts? I mean, everything's in his hands. Everything's in Turkey's control. So if he really didn't want to see Devin Haney run, or if he didn't want to see Shakur run, if he didn't want to see Skull run, then he doesn't have to offer these guys any fights, and they can fight somewhere else where it's not his problem. But he's continuing to give these guys chances because he wants them to, get knocked out probably. He wants to see someone catch a guy like Shakur. He wants to see an opponent catch a guy like Devin Haney and see them get embarrassed, because that would bring a lot of money. And, you know, even though Turkey's giving them their money, you know, if he starts shrinking that ring size and starts, implementing a no running rule, then he doesn't really have the best interest of certain boxers that have that boxer hit and not get hit style. So we'll see what happens. Turkey Al-Sheikh talks about the no running rule, but, you know, respect to Devin Haney for making big fights happen and not being afraid, especially after everything he's gone through in the sport. But let me know in the comments what you guys think. Thank you guys for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll catch you guys on the next Naz Boxing video. It's been your boy Matt. Peace.